Alright guys, so now that we have done this stuff, right, we can actually place the part. We're gonna have to actually find a nice way to, let's say, handle more parts, right? So let's just create a simple, very simple UI that we can pick parts from. So let's go back to our building part. Let's just create here a new widget. Instead of creating a new widget, let's just create the structure first. Let's go back here, create a st call building parts, right? Each building part will be a different one. Then we're gonna have the part name, and we're gonna have actually the mesh. So name, and on this example code, it's gonna be the actor. And this is going to be a BAP based part, so we can actually spawn generic parts, spawn, right? Now, I can go back to my structure, right? I'm just going to actually create a new folder called vars, that stands for variables. And then right click here, I'm going to create a miscellaneous data table call. Just select this st building part while you created that. Called dt building part list. Now in the building part list, I'm gonna add here for now the base part, or actually it's called it chassis 01. To be honest, I don't even need it to add the name, but I guess we can keep it here. Nice. Oh, actually, I did a mistake here, guys. Make sure that this is base building part. Make sure it is the class, okay? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to select here. And we're going to use the chassis 01, okay? Now, this is going to be, I'm just going to rename this to call the master part. Perfect. And we're just going to create a new folder called car parts. Gonna drag and drop all this stuff inside here, and we're gonna create a new folder called chassis or frame. I think frame probably is better. I mean, let's call chassis 01 chassis. Nice, perfect. Now that we have our part here added, we just need to create the logic to add the part to our component. Right, so we're gonna delete this. Now let's go back here to our building. Now we already have a widget, and I think what we can actually do here is there's a couple of things we need to do, but basically I just want to make sure that we pass also the player controller. I'm gonna need the player controller, so just gonna player controller, and it's gonna be a player controller. Go back here, expose that on spawn. Nice. Now we need to set this. Unfortunately, we have to pass that variable, so let's go back to our character. And it's gonna basically get controller, get player controller. Now it does ask for an index, get index player controller. Well, I'm not a fan of passing the player controller index because if you play on multiplayer, you don't get local player controller ID. Can I do get controller? I think that kind of works, so we do that. No, this needs to be player controller, get controller ID. Well, anyway, instead of doing the whole thing, let's just cast to player controller. I know that casting is a bit bad, but we're doing this so we later on we focus on making this more efficient in terms of memory, right? Right now it doesn't matter. Set player controller, and what we do, so we pass the casted controller there. Nice. So now we have the stuff. Perfect. We're gonna create a widget. And here, instead of spawning this stuff, right, I'm just gonna add this right here. We're gonna create a custom event called API start building mode. All right, add it here. So we're just gonna add a widget, right? It's not gonna do anything. It's just gonna do this. And then what we gotta do is that we are gonna basically, instead of spawning these widgets here, I mean, we can keep it widget. I'm just gonna get aim. I'm gonna set visibility to collapse, which means is that it's not gonna display when you press 1. And now let's just create here a very simple list of items that we can actually do. So what I like to do for those cases, I like to create a new folder called widget, because it's starting to get more complex as we go. And here we're gonna create a new widget called WBP part list, or on this case we can call part list is fine. So on the part list, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna add a border, which will have a scroll box, which will have a vertical list, sorry. Now within the vertical list, what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna go back here, it's fine. Go back to the bush color. It's gonna put 0.2, which is fine. Nice. Now we're gonna add here, to be honest with you, just the text, because I don't have images for this, and also we don't have to. And we're gonna add a button, right? And inside the button, we're gonna copy and add this text called spawn or use, right? The text is just gonna say use. Now this is a vertical box. We need to wrap this with a horizontal box, and the button needs to go first. Now a trick that I like to do is make sure that everything's filled. The same for the button. Actually the button just leave it auto. And that's it. You know, realistically, we can make this super nice, but that's not the point of the lesson, so let's just not worry about this too much. Nice. So now we have to use this, and that's super simple. We just need to copy this part list, go back here, and we're just gonna paste it here. And we're gonna drag and drop. We're gonna add this stuff right on the middle. Here. Gonna make it nice, right? So it's gonna make it like a different size. So we can make it like 700 by 500, something very simple. 0, 0. Now align everything on the middle. Right, so if I press play, press number 1, look at that. Now we have a problem. We don't have the mouse. And how do we solve this? So we got the trouble of getting all the player controllers just so we can do something like that. Set show cursor, and you want to put true, right? So now if I compile and save, look what happened. I have the mouse and I can click on stuff. Nice. And if I press number 2, then we can go back to normal, right? So when I press number 2, I can just create a new event called custom event called API stop building mode, right? And then all it is going to do is basically whatever this do, right? Here, so we're gonna do that plus this. Nice. I'm gonna compile this. So I don't need this and that. I can just call the API now. And now we get into more complicated things, but now start to get simple. You see? And this is what I mean, guys, by creating a project to small steps. Because we managed to do a lot of complex stuff, in very, very few steps. One thing I forgot to do is just to make sure you untick that, right? And that's it. Now the next one, we're gonna carry on spawning the parts. Hope you guys enjoy. See you in the next one.